brand that we work with. It is RIMAN. It's owned by RIMAN. Specifically, it was established by our chairman, Mr. On. Ask Company is an umbrella that covers not only RIMAN, but also we have our Ask Base and our Ask Labs. And all of this is relevant to our topic of Giant Byoung Pool. But the key consideration about the creation of Ask Company and these different branches is the use and the conceptualization of ask. We like to say that the ask will find the answer. While basic in its understanding of course, oftentimes you ask something, you will find an answer. We are looking at the beauty behind curiosity, how there is so much power in creating hypotheses and essentially finding the answers to those hypotheses just to begin the process again. This ensures there'll never be stagnancy within our product development. There are always other questions you can ask, always other ways in which you can create uniqueness. Now, in that understanding, it really develops the main roles for each of these companies: Ask Company, Ask Base, and Ask Labs. And many of the different functionalities of these companies begins on Jeju Island. I hope you all know by now that Jeju Island is deep within the RIMAN story. It's that island that formed roughly 2 million years ago off the coast of South Korea, and currently it is heralded as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We specifically have what's known as RIMAN Campus on Jeju Island, which is a branch of different satellite companies and farms that allow us to not only source a lot of raw material extracts, but to directly control the product development of our formulations. Now, on RIMAN Campus, we have a couple of key players you see here. A lot of the different energy we obtain to extract our different raw materials to grow them comes from a wind power station. This is crucial in understanding because part of Jeju's status as a UNESCO World Heritage Site is that you must do many things very sustainably. It's crucial to not only the government, but to the inhabitants of Jeju Island that you preserve the pristine beauty of the island. And so part of that is finding alternate ways to obtain energy and, of course, to minimize our environmental impact when we have various procedures or when we are sourcing raw materials. Within RIMAN Campus, we, of course, also have a solar power station for that same reason. And these largely help us in our RIMAN Smart Farm and its utilization. We are growing those giant Byoung Pool leaves, but we're also looking towards growing other plants as well, finding out ways in which we can extract camellia flower, nettle extract, soapberry, and mugwort, etc. Now, as you can also see identified here, Ask Base, as I have mentioned, this is going to be explained in a couple of slides next, but we also have our government agency partner, which is the Jeju Lava Water Center. Our topic today is not on the Jeju Lava Energy Water, but it is also a huge part of the story, and it is not only utilized in the growth of the giant Byoung Pool, but as a heritage ingredient itself. And right next to it is our Byoung Pool Research Lab. So this is part of Ask Labs. This is where we really are looking in depth at our heritage ingredient. Only we can utilize the giant Byoung Pool, so we don't want to waste its potential in discovery. We are always looking for hypotheses and answers in that specific ingredient and in that specific category. Now, backing up just a bit to clarify the role of Ask Base, we look at Ask Base as a manufacturing and processing plant owned by RIMAN on Jeju Island. So many of the raw materials we utilize in formula that I've previously mentioned, the giant Byoung Pool, the camellia seed, are sourced by RIMAN at Ask Base. And that allows us a lot of quality and consistency in our products. This also, of course, is with consideration to GMP or good manufacturing practices. So we hold ourselves to all the same stringent quality standards that any other manufacturer would, even to a higher level than that, because we are we are in a UNESCO heritage site and we are doing business in a heritage site. Ask Base has gone through a rich history in its ultimate development and how it has come to be the building and the process that we know today. As you can see here, we started as what was called Ester Bio, which very glad we renamed it. It's now Ask Base. That makes it a little more fascinating, a little more romantic. But in 2021, we began with the extraction and the production of Byoung Pool extract. We then became Ask Base in October of 2021, and we then created that Byoung Pool leaf extract. So that's the marriage of the giant Byoung Pool with the Jeju Lava energy water. And that is what is in the formulas like the booster, the serum, and the dermatology cream. We later then moved over to the Hyundai Bioland Jeju plant. We needed more space. We had more things to create, and that move allowed us to really occupy and embrace all of the different potential we had. We later then began processing those ancillary ingredients, the camellia, the soapberry, mugwort, nettle, etc. And that was in April of 2022. And finally, we have come to a full home in Jeju Island by July of 2022. And that is where we are at today. Now, a key part of Ask Base not only is this manufacturing and processing, but it technically is the overseer and the owner of the Ask Base Smart Farm. This is our giant Byoung Pool, our giant Centella asiatica Smart Farm. Now, in the creation of this Smart Farm, Chairman On actually went to the Netherlands Netherlands and specifically visited a company known as Priva. They are seen worldwide and globally as the leaders in smart farm technology. We wanted to explore how to maximize the growth of our hero and heritage ingredient to really ensure not only maximum phytonutrient content, but minimization of environmental impact. And so that partnership with Priva allowed us to establish the really elegant smart farm that we are able to boast. As many of you may know, we are actually the first company globally that is vertically integrated in the controlled growth of Centella of any size, of just Centella asiatica. That smart farm is really smart, for lack of a better word, in how the day-to-day procedures go by. So we monitor and initially set the temperature of the greenhouse, the humidity, the soil, even really controlling the growth period of these leaves, but we otherwise leave the seedlings alone. We allow them to grow self-sustainably via osmosis. Now, essentially, those seeds or seedlings are planted within a sand bed, and at the bottom of that sand bed is our Jeju lava energy water that then is pulled up into the roots of the seeds as they need it. They grow roughly 2 to 3 months, and at the peak time of growth, we harvest them for later extraction. Now, the consideration of all this ask-based smart farm is that we also have the neighboring Byoung Pool Research Institute. And so this is a much smaller area, but where we are bringing some of these harvests directly to continue our understanding of the giant Byoung Pool leaves and to further extrapolate their benefits. This smart farm is 150,000 square feet, and we produce roughly 60 tons of Centella asiatica annually. This is really all we are doing to create those huge amounts of extract in the various products that boast giant Byoung Pool. Now, the gentleman you see pictured here, this is Dr. Saw. He is head of the Byoung Pool Research Institute. I have had the pleasure of talking with him and also interviewing him to understand the process of giant Byoung Pool and its growth, how we came to understand it. He also was even involved in the patenting of giant Byoung Pool. So he often will lead tours. If you ever get the chance to go to Jeju Island or perhaps participate in the Director Jeju retreats, which often occur in October, he will give you really rich knowledge, essentially straight from the source. Now, in the cultivation of these plants, as I've mentioned, we have that neighboring research facility, and that becomes Ask Labs. Now, Ask Labs is really our preliminary research institute. It's where we begin our initial cosmetic formulations, our initial nutraceutical formulations, but also where we continued the study of giant Byoung Pool. The Ask Labs scientists and building itself collaborate with a lot of different leaders in the scientific industry. We have the Korea Research of Institute, of Bioscience and Biotechnology, and a variety of other raw material suppliers and manufacturers that we directly collaborate with to maximize the science and the technology that we are employing within our formulations and with our raw material selections. Specifically in the division of, or the rather differentiation of the different branches of Ask Labs, we have three main ones listed here. Our cosmetic research lab is where we begin those cosmetic formulations. That's not only for your skincare, but also for the hair and body care within the Bodalab brand. The Food Research Institute controls all of that produced in the Lifening line, where we're looking at ingredients, understanding how they perform when orally consumed, and otherwise looking how we can tell a story with functional foods. And most importantly for our topic today, we have our Byoung Pool Research Institute. This is where we develop our hero ingredient and its benefits, and where we also look towards the attainment and discovery of novel derivatives from giant Byoung Pool or from Centella asiatica. Now, really to look at the giant Byoung Pool, which is our main topic today, it has such a rich history, one that you can easily view in many different historical texts and, of course, in scholarly publications. It's native to Asia, and it appears often in historical texts as a regenerative herb. Tigers were known to roll around in its leaves instinctively to heal their wounds after battle, thus the name tiger grass. But it's also associated with longevity in Sri Lanka, and it's part of Ayurvedic medicine as a wound healing and mind clearing active. Because of all these different stories, many different names are associated with the same plant. That's Asiatic pennywort, tiger grass, gotu-kola. I would say it's most commonly known by Centella asiatica. This is its scientific name. This is what you're going to see listed on your bottles of products. And if ever you're wanting to research some of its benefits, traditionally the use of Centella asiatica will trigger more search results. Now, Byoung Pool is the Korean spoken name for Centella asiatica, and it had really not been written down prior to RIMAN's commercialization of giant Byoung Pool. So we established the specific spelling of it, where the utilization of these leaves allows you to become part of a pool of youthful people. Similarly, if you can see here, the Y and the P are lowercased when we're talking about generic Byoung Pool, just standard Centella asiatica. But when we talk about our hero ingredient, giant Byoung Pool, the Y and the P will be capitalized. So just some different ways in which you can understand what you may be receiving and perceiving rather about Giant Byoung Pool. In understanding this rich history, we wanted to create history of our own, and that came with the establishment of our patent on Giant Byoung Pool. There are many different strains and subspecies of Centella asiatica, but we discovered a unique strain, and we'll talk a little bit more about why it is unique later. But after a 3-year period of really standardized and scrutinized studying, we were able to determine that this was a unique strain and one that RIMAN alone could utilize. And thusly, the Korea Forest Service granted us a plant patent, as you see here. You can see the title holder is Ask Company, which, as I've mentioned, is RIMAN. It's Chairman On's company. This lasts for 20 years, and we achieved it in 2022. That protects us until 2042. But more recently, towards the end of last year, we also achieved USDA PVP certification or recognition. The USDA PVP, or Plant Variety Protection Office, grants similar recognition in the protected utilization and exclusive utilization of both the Giant Byoung Pool and formula and its marketing about these formulas as well. So the mention of Giant Byoung Pool for our products. The establishment of this recognition allows us further exclusivity now on a more globalized platform. And because we have this USDA PVP recognition, it makes it easier for us to register the Giant Byoung Pool in other countries as well as an exclusive ingredient. So you see here, this is the certificate, and it has a specific certificate number and name that will populate in the plant variety search. Now, because of the government shutdown, this plant variety search thing is still delayed in its population. So you may not see the number pop up with anything yet, but that will come very soon. Now, let's talk about Giant Byoung Pool and its efficacy for you. What's most important in these products and how you're perceiving that RIMAN difference in terms of skin efficacy. Byoung Pool or Centella asiatica is well known for a variety of different benefits, but at its core, it is beautiful for sensitive skin. I like to appreciate sensitive skin as the most vulnerable skin type, offering benefits to even more robust skin types like oily or normal or combination. Not only is it able to soothe and hydrate the skin, but it can even reinforce the skin barrier and has a great efficacy in hyperpigmentation reduction. But that's true for any Centella. And of course, the efficacies in these different categories varies depending on the specific strain and the specific region that Centella was grown. With Giant Byoung Pool, and because we have this smart farm, we're able to use it in its fresh form. It is never dried. Many companies will dry the standard Byoung Pool to lower the cost of shipping of this raw material, but in doing so, you remove water-soluble components that are beneficial to the human body, such as water-soluble vitamins. We get to keep everything intact, and we take it directly to our extraction process. And so as you can see depicted here, we have dried Centella from Madagascar and Indonesia, and then we have our larger and fresh Giant Byoung Pool leaves. Now, what really gives Giant Byoung Pool its somewhat obvious name is that these leaves are significantly larger than standard Centella asiatica. They can be 3 to 4, even 5 to 6 times larger than the standard Byoung Pool, as you can see pictured here. Because of that larger surface area, there's a higher polyphenol content in the leaves. This directly correlates to greater antioxidant activity. But beyond the higher polyphenol content, there's a greater density of other nutrients and other molecules that have a direct impact on your skin, and we'll go more in depth on the next slide. But because of these different phytonutrients and in high abundance in this in this extract, we have found that Giant Byoung Pool has a significant efficacy in the reduction in the appearance of wrinkles, as well as the reduction in the appearance of hyperpigmentation. And again, this is comparison to standard Centella, which is what any other brand is utilizing. Now, to get really deep in the science with it, let's look at the main components of Byoung Pool. As you can see listed here, a large part of Byoung Pool's role within a skincare product are the triterpenes and their glycosides. So the triterpenes are going to be the asiatic acid, the madecassic acid, and then the glycosides or the saponins are going to be the asiaticoside and the madecassoside. As you can see, they all have slightly different molecular structures. That's going to ultimately determine how they're interacting with the skin. And many of them have overlapping benefits in their unique performances, and that allows for a synergy for them all to be present in formula. Now, you can easily create a formula that's just madecassic acid or an asiatic acid serum, but to have all of these as pure Byoung Pool phytonutrients greatly maximizes the ultimate performance of these molecules on your skin. For example, asiatic acid is known to stimulate the fibroblast cells for collagen synthesis. Madecassic acid is known for its soothing properties. Asiaticoside, known as a powerful antioxidant, and madecassoside, great for reducing inflammation and improving skin hydration. In clinical studies, it was found that in a mix with asiatic acid, and madecassic acid specifically can actually help prompt the creation of natural moisturizing factors like hyaluronic acid. This is really important because you can easily put hyaluronic acid on your skin and it will profoundly hydrate your skin. But these are prompting your skin to make its own natural moisturizing factors, really looking at the cellular level of skin impact for your products. We also have vitamin C and vitamin B from the Giant Byoung Pool, a variety of different minerals, and those polyphenols I had mentioned. So the Byoung Pool has so many different things going on beneath the surface that are really attacking multiple different points of aesthetic concerns within your skin, bringing you not only that innate health, but hydration, protection, and so much more. Now, yes, these are, in great abundance in the Giant Byoung Pool, but there's something even better about the Giant Byoung Pool at a molecular level. And that was the illumination of a new active compound unique to Giant Byoung Pool that we have coined as rimonoside. So Labs researchers actually identified and then isolated a unique compound. This has been found only in Giant Byoung Pool, and it's actually part of some of Giant Byoung Pool's skin efficacies. And we've named it, of course, rimonoside. It's a saponin in characteristic, thusly it's following the O side naming of the metacassoside and the asiaticoside, but Rimon is in there because only we have access to this specific molecule. Now, it's identified as a naturally derived trisaccharide. Truly, none of these molecule shapes or sizes is important in your discussions, but just so you understand, and it directly reduces the appearance of wrinkles. And this is specifically by regulating MMP1 activity. Now, MMP1 or matrix metalloproteinase 1 is a naturally occurring enzyme in our body that breaks down collagen and elastin for reorganization. But for many different reasons, you can increase the activity of MMP1 outside of its standard efficacies, and it can thusly break down collagen and elastin that your skin was needing, thusly leading to these various structural issues, such as the formation of wrinkles. Now, the science behind illuminating this specific molecule that's unique to the Giant Byoung Pool alone is very intense, I would say. It's a comparative analysis with a variety of different what's the word? Lab analyses such as, spectroscopy, mass spectrometry, finding this specific molecule due to its size and due to how it refracts light. But in all instances and in all these different tests, it was identified as unique in comparison to all of these pre-existing and pre-identified triterpenes and saponins, etc. So this is something else that is going for you with the Giant Byoung Pool. Now, at a more globalized and localized look, or localized. Okay, so globalized, bigger, we can look at the products that hold the Giant Byoung Pool. And the Giant Byoung Pool is employed in formula as the Giant Byoung Pool 3 solution. This is portrayed in the booster, the serum, and the dermatology cream. Of course, many other products within our offerings also have Giant Byoung Pool, but this specific 3 solution is unique to the 3 products pictured here. The 3 stands for 3 different components of Giant Byoung Pool. We have the Giant Byoung Pool leaf extract, Giant Byoung Pool exosomes, and Giant Byoung Pool amino acids. The Giant Byoung Pool leaf extract, in comparison to what we were producing last year prior to the relaunch of Insulderm, or now ICD, has been increased in its antioxidant efficacy by 34.5%. Specifically, we also saw twice the reduction in MMP1 activity. So again, twice the protection against wrinkle formation, and that antioxidant efficacy is crucial. There are so many things that can create oxidative species within your skin. Oftentimes it is UV overexposure or pollution, but it can even be diet. And all of these different things creating oxidative species mean that these oxidative species can wreak havoc on your skin. They can cause fine lines and wrinkles, darkness, redness, and dryness as well. So something as simple as antioxidant protection is crucial for so many different aesthetic benefits to the skin. Now, the Giant Byoung Pool exosomes are also unique. Exosomes are a hot topic. These are naturally derived plant materials for enhanced absorption of these various different plant components. Now, with the utilization of exosomes, they differ from liposomes because in our use of liposomes in the Radiance 100 line, we synthesize them and we can thusly control what they contain. The use of Giant Byoung Pool exosomes leaves us to really nature's design. You cannot ultimately determine what are inside these exosomes, but the utilization and the purification of them in formula allows us to have a molecule very similar to the structure of our skin cells. And that's really going to make sure that on the surface, these various different phytonutrients are actually absorbing into the skin. Last but not least, those giant Byoung Pool amino acids are naturally protein building blocks. And so having these different amino acids, they can have multiple different roles in the skin as antioxidants, as moisturizers or hydrators for the skin, as signaling molecules as well. And so all these different amino acids are, again, addressing multiple different activities within your skincare products. Now, all of this in consideration, we also want to appreciate the different research that exists about the Byoung Pool. While yes, it's fantastic to have all these different reasonings behind the giant Byoung Pool and the different molecules, to actually see them in science is profound. And so here I have just a few of the different papers that directly discuss giant Byoung Pool. As you can see up here, the comparison of growth characteristics and physiological activity of two subcultivars of Centella asiatica directly compares that standard Centella to our giant Byoung Pool. And so this is easily accessible to you if you wish to read it, but it largely illuminates a lot of the different properties of the leaves, why they are larger, what the different phytonutrient contents are, and ultimately what they can do for our skin. At the bottom is a short depiction of the different studies we have done with various universities in Seoul, trying to illuminate how the giant Byoung Pool can impact our skin. On the left, we see here the anti-wrinkle effect, as well as the brightening or lightening effect of giant Byoung Pool with Seoul National University. We've also found, of course, its anti-inflammatory agency with the Jeonbuk National University. And we are exploring the lactobacillus ferment, or the bacterial ferment, of giant Byoung Pool for human use with Suwon Science College. And that's not the end of it all. There's so many research ongoing on giant Byoung Pool because it's our hero ingredient and because we are the only ones using it. So why not really maximize what we know about it? So these are just a few pieces to consider. Many different research papers exist on standard Centella as well. And many of these results do somewhat translate to the understanding of giant Byoung Pool. So if you are someone that is quite like-minded to myself in really wanting the nitty-gritty in the science, feel free to look up Centella asiatica on Google Scholar or elsewhere to just consume more about what's going on within these leaves. But of course, if you've gone to previous roadmap or convention last year, Chairman Ahn also mentioned the creation of the Manhattan Project. That's the name, but with the creation of this project, it was actually initially created in Manhattan in New York, and it actually summarizes and collects all the different research done on giant Byoung Pool, how we determined the exact structuring of the smart farm, how we determined the exact growth conditions of the giant Byoung Pool, how we found the comparison between the giant and the standard Centella asiatica. Then we began to look towards the efficacy of the extract itself and of the extract in formula. So all of these different things are going on behind the scenes as well. We are never stopping with our research and our understanding of giant Byoung Pool. Now, to finish up in the utilization of giant Byoung Pool overall, I thought I would illuminate how we are producing it to begin with, specifically how we are using that Byoung Pool leaf water in many of our formulations. Because we are in control of the raw material sourcing of this ingredient, we really need to make sure we are doing everything to a T with consistency, quality, and responsibility, because production of a raw material ingredient is huge, and we want to make sure that we're maximizing its benefit, but also its safety in formula. So once we have procured the giant Byoung Pool, they've been taken from the soil beds. They go through 2 rounds of cleaning just to remove any potential bugs or, any soil, and really to make sure they are just pure Byoung Pool leaves. They then go through a timed sterilization to remove any microbial contaminants. From there, they move to the extraction process. This is a whole ordeal. We have the Jeju lava energy water in a large vat. There's heat control and circulation to get all that phytonutrient content into the aqueous solution to eventually have that concentrated ampule of Byoung Pool leaf extract. We then filter and transfer this extraction so that we don't have any of that leaf pulp, and it goes through another antibacterial processing, again, to make sure it is completely clean. We then go through a packaging process to create it easily for use in batching, and we then go to quality and inspection control. In the quality control, we take a specific package of that unique batch and we check its pH, we checked its conductivity, and made sure that the sterilization was a success. And with all of that, we have created successfully Byoung Pool leaf extract, and roughly 15 tons of Byoung Pool produces enough extract for 1 million different RIMAN products. 15 tons of Byoung Pool produce enough extract for 1 million products. And that is all we have for today's deep dive on giant Byoung